This is Inside the FLX from FingerLakes1.com, our live Tuesday morning edition. I'm Ted Baker, and our guest live in the studio is Lieutenant David Cirencione with the Ontario County Sheriff's Office. He is running for the top job of sheriff. Lieutenant, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ted.
So give us a little bit about your background and 20 years of rising up through the department.
Sure. So, Geneva native, born and raised in Geneva, grew up there, graduated from Geneva High School. Been married for 20 years to my wife, Sue, and we have three beautiful daughters that we raised in Geneva. And my adult life has just been dedicated to public service to the people of this community. I joined the Nestor Hose Company in the Geneva Fire Department as soon as I turned 18 in 1993. Been an active member there. My career aspiration was always to be a police officer. Back as I can remember, that's all I ever wanted to do. Specifically, as I got older, for the Ontario County Sheriff's Office. So began taking civil service tests when I was 21 and was hired by Sheriff Pavro at the Ontario County Sheriff's Office in 2002. Worked my way up through the ranks. I was promoted to sergeant in 2007 and to my current rank of lieutenant in 2016. For my first 4 years as a lieutenant, I was a uniform lieutenant, oversaw the road patrol, full-time deputies, part-time deputies, the Eastview Mall patrol, our town traffic patrols, field training officer program, underwater search and recovery team. And then a little over 2 years ago, I was transferred over to the criminal investigation division. So now I wear a suit and tie to work every day and work Monday to Friday and oversee our felony cases, burglaries, robberies, death investigations, pistol permit background unit, and welfare fraud and our employment background checks.
Tell us a little bit about criminal investigation. We all see the TV shows like CSI and everything's all high tech, but really at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to just asking a lot of questions and comparing answers and looking for holes in people's stories.
Yeah, a lot of it is, like you said, Ted, just getting out there and talking to people, talking to witnesses, victims, suspects, comparing the stories. But it's been probably the last 10 years that one of the biggest things we use technology-wise to solve crime is cell phones. The criminals always have their cell phones with them when they commit crime, and there are ways for us through their cell phones to go back and track their activity and see where they've been and what they've been up to. So
you've made a point during your campaign that you've never run for public office before, so why now? Why this time did you feel it was the time to run for sheriff?
that is true. Never have and never saw myself ever becoming involved in any aspect of the political arena. Found ourselves in unprecedented times last year where our elected sheriff resigned before finishing a full term, and there was a lot of unknown. We didn't know for weeks into months at the sheriff's office who was going to be our appointed leader, who was going to hold in the interim. And the talk was whoever is appointed the interim is only going to finish the term 1 year, and then it's going to be open for somebody else to run and take over long term. So it was members of the sheriff's office and members of the community who approached me and said, your experience and knowledge of this agency and the respectful manner in which you've always treated folks at work and in the community, you're the logical choice. Please consider this. So a lot of soul searching and praying and talks with my family. We decided I would go for it and officially entered the realm and made up my mind in December, but made the official announcement in January.
I don't know how much you can talk about this since you were there in the department, but in your opinion, what went wrong under the previous sheriff and how far along are we in correcting it?
Sure. I don't want to say too much because there's confidentiality between the county and the person who resigned over that. What I can assure you is that I was never involved in any of it. And at the end of the day, when things weren't getting better and it was obvious that the county had their mindset that the sheriff needed to resign, I told him face to face that it was best for all of us at the office and the community for him to resign. Since then, it's been 9 months. We are well on our way to recovery and rebuilding and healing. Between the new leadership and positive collective bargaining agreements that were passed between all of the unions and the county, which really did a excellent service to our members to bring their pay up closer to our neighbors in Monroe County, who were coming down on a regular basis and actively recruiting our road patrol and depleting our numbers. Since this contract has settled, we haven't lost any more people to Monroe County. In fact, we now have folks from other agencies applying to come and work at the Ontario County Sheriff's Office, to include one officer from another agency who just started with us yesterday.
How fortunate was the department to have Sheriff Pavro agree to come back? I mean, that's a pretty selfless act. I haven't spoken to him since he's been back. I gave him a big send-off when he retired, and to step back from that life and say, yes, I'll come back and help my department was quite an act.
Ted, I can't say enough about our thanks to Sheriff Pavro for coming back. His leadership is steadfast, and he knows the job, he knows the community, he still knows the members of the office, and just gets things done at that job for us so that the rest of the folks who are on the administrative team, but also the folks out in the field and in the jail keeping us safe, and our 911 center can just focus on our jobs and get them done. And the sheriff takes care of all the meetings and political things to keep our budget going, keep our cars on the road, and keep all of our programs funded. He's been fantastic.
Your opponent was here last week and talked about the advantages of coming in as an outsider. What are the advantages of coming into the position of sheriff as an insider?
Sure. What I bring is experience in this county, leadership, and integrity. I have spent 20 years at this agency, so I have worked the toughest, most difficult cases in this county and been a key part of seeing them to a positive resolution through the court process. During that time and through that process, I have built positive relationships that are lasting and ongoing with all of our community partners that we need to be engaged with to protect our community. And by that I mean the fire service, EMS, our district attorney's office, our hospitals, mental health agencies. These are all folks that I've been working with hands-on for 20 years and have these relationships established that can just continue.
The campaign website, by the way, is cirencioneforsheriff.com, and also on Facebook, Cirencione for Sheriff. And just today, you've released your common sense plan to keep our families safe. So let's run down the points. Number one, school resource officers. We all know what happened recently in Texas. Are the schools and the county supervisors on board with whatever funding is needed to make that a reality?
Yes. We have, so outside of Geneva and Canandaigua, where those schools are covered by their city police departments, every other district in the county is our responsibility. And we have had a resource officer at every school for a number of years, with the exception for the last 2 years of Red Jacket in Manchester Shortsville. They have approved the position for a full-time school resource officer for next school year, for September, for the 22-23 school year. With that approval, we will have a resource officer at every district in the school in the county.
Is there a way to improve communications in these situations? Sometimes maybe multiple agencies respond to a shooting and they're on different radio frequencies, or someone doesn't know, who's in this part of the building and who's here. Is there a way to bring that all under kind of a central command so that the response can be better in these situations?
Yes. So part of our in-service training at the sheriff's office, we do drill on active shooter situations annually. The other thing is, several years ago, we did a active shooter drill at Finger Lakes Community College that I actually oversaw for the sheriff's office. Multifaceted. Sheriff's office, state police, campus police, Canandaigua police, FBI was in on it, Canandaigua EMS, Victor Farmington EMS, Hopewell Fire Department. And the practice that we go by now is what's called unified command. So there is one command post where there's a member from each entity that's actively working that scene in the same area. One of the challenges always remains radio communications and making sure all of the troops are on the same radio communication. Until that is 100%, if you can at least get a command leader from each agency together in the same area, we can get the same message out to our troops and keep everybody on the same page. And we actually have a meeting coming up in the next couple weeks with some fire and EMS agencies to continue to plan for this going forward.
There's no shortage of scams out there, many of which affect senior citizens. That's part of your plan, is to help prevent that. How do you go about doing that?
Outreach, so we already have a program that we use usually at Eastview Mall where Sheriff Pavro meets with our senior citizens. They're invited up there and they touch on current issues affecting seniors, and it's called SALT.
Oh,
Seniors
right,
and
right.
Lawmen Together. Sheriff Pavro started that a number of years ago. So to continue that, but enhance it, and my thoughts are to get into the senior living communities and residences and identify some of these folks through proactive, a website, media with you folks, get messages out. I see personally in my position reports that we take at the sheriff's office every day where these poor folks are contacted either on the phone or through the internet, where people preying on them tell them your grandson's in jail or you've won this amount of money, but in order to claim it, I need you to send $2,000 in Lowe's gift cards to this address. Well, nobody who's won a prize or whose son is in jail or grandson is going to send the jail or the police agency or the prize place Lowe's gift cards. But these folks are trusting of people and they want to do the right thing. And when we take the steps to send subpoenas out to find out where these IP addresses come from and where these folks are being preyed upon, when we get an answer, they're Miami, Florida, Oklahoma, Southern, South America. It's just, there's no chance of us at a local level of following up with them. So we refer it on to the FBI's internet team and hope that they can come up with some sort of pieces on this. But the key component is to educate these folks and let them know ahead of time before they become victims.
And it's hard because the scams keep getting better and better. I mean, I see some every once in a while that you go, is this legit? No, okay, it's not.
Yeah, the criminals are always, we find a way to get out the message about one and they come up with a different one, and yeah, they're always working to stay one step ahead of us. So it's a battle.
Part of your plan is more community policing and bike patrols. That used to be a staple of any kind of city policing. How do you institute that in such a large geographic area as Ontario County?
Sure. We already use our bicycle patrols on a regular basis at events like CMAC concerts. What I'd like to do is get us more on the bike patrols up at Eastview Mall, out in the parking lot up there. The bike patrol officers, it's two-faceted. Number one, it's a good community policing tool where the officers can engage with the public and the public feels more comfortable engaging with an officer on a bicycle versus approaching a patrol vehicle. The other thing is they're in a little bit more stealth mode to be out there and see what's going on than a big SUV or marked red and white coming through. So it helps with crime prevention too. And one of our full-time deputies assigned to Eastview Mall just went to bicycle school last week. So we'll get him out in the parking lot. But I would like to continue and increase that and actually even have our deputies that are assigned to patrol posts that have villages in them, park the car and get on when they're not taking calls for service, park the car and get on the bicycle and ride through a couple neighborhoods, stop at the local park and talk with the kids that way. Just again, keeps us engaged with the community on the street level.
You mentioned the Eastview Mall patrols, and I used to talk about this with Sheriff Pavro all the time. That becomes a city of, I don't know what it is, 1 million people or something at Christmas time, and
Yes.
the department's had a tremendous amount of success keeping people safe during that busy time and all year.
Yes. We have full-time deputies assigned to Eastview Mall. It is a fantastic partnership that Ontario County has with Wilmerite. So we have full-time officers assigned there every day, and we increase that staffing dramatically. We don't like to say our numbers publicly, but we increase the numbers up there dramatically all through basically from Black Friday into February to continue to patrol the parking lot and the inside of the mall. Because again, we don't want to see our mall become what's happened at some of the other malls where they are taken over by the criminals who not only go in there and steal on a regular basis, but make it their hangout and their headquarters. So through the proactivity of being on patrol and being out and about in the corridors of the mall every day, that makes a difference to keep it safe.
Part of your plan is to stand up against what you say are bad policies out of Albany. For example, bail reform. I've asked this question now of a lot of people in law enforcement. Is bail reform a good intentioned policy that went a little too far? Or in your mind, is it just a big mess that needs to be blown up and started over again?
I think it was well-intentioned, but for downstate, specifically New York City, where there was a backlog of prisoners that, you know, there were folks sitting in Rikers Island for over a year on misdemeanor charges because the court system was so backlogged. So they're actually doing more time in jail than the maximum amount of sentence allowed for the crime they're charged with. Our problem with it is that's not the case up here and never has been. So this is a situation where we got blanketed with a policy upstate to fix a problem in New York City that was not a problem up here. And what we've seen is we arrest people for petty larceny or grand larceny in the 4th degree, a misdemeanor or Class C felony. Those are mandatory appearance tickets. And these are folks that should probably be brought in front of a judge based on their history and let the judge determine if they should put bail on them. They've taken that away from us, away from the judge. We have to write appearance tickets. They don't show up for court. It's the same people committing the same crimes. Other officers in other jurisdictions run into them. They find out they have a warrant down here for not showing up for court. Now we've got to send a deputy all the way to this other jurisdiction to pick them up, bring them back here to our cap court to be arraigned, where even there, the judges are supposed to release them on their own recognizance, go right back out. So here we've dealt with them twice on the same charge, and there's been nothing to hold them, and it's completely exhausting our resources to go chase these folks around on warrants, and the recidivism is up where the same people are committing the same crimes.
Is that the biggest fix, is to just return some more of that discretion to judges?
Yes, in my opinion, yes.
Second Amendment issues, SAFE Act, or just guns in general. Most everyone supports the Second Amendment, but a lot of people say, okay, why should someone be able to buy a gun whose only purpose is to sweep a room full of people? Is there any middle point where everyone can agree that maybe some weapons ought to be difficult to impossible to get?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a middle ground. The arguments are so strong on both sides of that issue. My feeling is the best we can do is, when it comes to handguns, we do a very thorough background check before we recommend somebody be issued a concealed carry permit. And the county court judge makes that ultimate decision. With the long guns, there are some safeguards in place where if somebody is picked up on a mental hygiene, the doctor that says they need to be held can make that notification so that law enforcement is able to go retrieve those guns. But I do think, by and large, most legal gun owners, vast majority of them, are responsible and are not the ones out there committing this carnage. It's younger folks with mental health issues that go untreated before there's an incident like that.
Another point of your plan, this one's interesting, is wellness programs for officers. It's a difficult job in the best of circumstances. In the last few years in the United States, it's been anything but the best of circumstances. Attitudes have changed about law enforcement. So tell us about this wellness program idea.
Yes. So several years ago, we initiated and rolled out about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We actually have a peer support program in play at the sheriff's office where members of the office from all divisions get training in peer support. They're not really counselors, but it's a way for them to reach out to their fellow officers that have been involved in a difficult investigation or case and kind of talk through it. And that officer that reaches out to them stays with them for a while to make sure that they're doing okay and better mentally. Or do they need to go on and get some professional help? I want to continue that, but also some proactive things to just, and make this a part of our in-service training program, perhaps once a year or more, where the officers could go out together. We've talked a little bit with the 4-H folks in Bristol, and they're on board with looking at this with us. Maybe go outside, out in the woods or out acres and acres, do some horseback riding, maybe do some log splitting, some outdoor activities that allow them to do some physical things to just kind of team bonding and at the same time getting off some steam.
How much contact do the people have in various departments? For example, do the road patrol deputies get to talk to the jail officers often?
Not so much. So, usually the road patrol deputies are out on the road, and the only time they'll see the jail officers is when they drop off a prisoner. We have integrated our range training so that it is corrections and road together, so that gives the officers a chance to kind of get to know each other a little better and see each other. And this wellness training would be another aspect of that, to kind of put the divisions together. And it's really no one's fault. It's just by design that 911 is on the third floor of where the road patrol is. The road patrol spends 95% of their time in their patrol cars or on the street. And the jail is in Hopewell, and those officers spend their time inside of their pods where they're, supervising our incarcerated individuals.
You've done a lot of old-fashioned door-to-door campaigning of late. What have people been telling you?
Very positive responses. The feedback I get is that people are concerned about school safety. That's a big one. And also the crimes where the older folks are being preyed on. Those are the things that I hear the most. And positive feedback with my amount of experience in leadership with the sheriff's office.
You've had a broad base of support in this campaign. A lot of prominent people within the department or retired officials have come out and supported you. How does it feel to have that vote of confidence from that wide base of people?
I'll tell you, Ted, I've been overwhelmed because I'm a humble person, and I'm not in this race for me. I'm doing it to make the Ontario County Sheriff's Office a positive working environment for the folks that work there, and make us the best agency that we can to go out and protect the people of our county that both reside there and travel through, our visitors. And I've always just taken the approach that I treat people the way I would want to be treated. And that is where I guess this is coming back. Our retirees, 49 of them who signed my letter of support, endorsements from the state police, both of their unions, career firefighters in Geneva, different members of the community. It's just a testament to the way I've carried myself over my adult life.
Tell us about your Meet the Candidate reception tomorrow night in Victor.
Having it at No Nonsense Brewing on Main Street, Victor, and it's an opportunity for folks to come out, first of all, and meet me and ask any questions they have of me, get to know me a little bit. My wife and my daughters will be there, 2 of my 3 daughters. My undersheriff pick, Mike Rago, will be with us. And it's also a way for folks to support my campaign so that we can keep it going and keep our advertising going. And yeah, anybody that can come out tomorrow night, 6 to 7:30, walk-ins are accepted. It is $50 donation per person.
All right, my last question's always the same, and that's the bumper sticker or elevator speech. Elect Lieutenant David Cirencione for sheriff because?
Experience, leadership, and ethics. 20 years serving the citizens of Ontario County. I've dedicated my adult life to protecting the folks of our county, and I've been out on the streets and at great risk and, given up things in my personal life to protect the folks here. And now all of that time and experience has prepared me to take the next step and take the reins at leading the Ontario County Sheriff's Office and continue to take us in the direction we need to go into the future.
All right, early voting is underway for the June 28th primary. In Ontario County, you can vote at the Geneva Housing Authority on Lewis Street, the Board of Elections office in Canandaigua, or at the Victor Town Hall. The election is coming up on the 28th. CirencioneForSheriff.com is the website. Also search for Cirencione for Sheriff on Facebook and get all the latest. Lieutenant, thanks for your time. We appreciate it, and best of luck with the campaign.
Thank you, Ted. Thanks for having me.
Inside the FLX has been produced by Nate Sharman with help from Caleb, our college intern. Coming up next week, Chris Lejeski with the Montezuma Audubon Center. We'll be talking wildlife sightings and birding and kayaking and more. We'll see you then.